and we treated. We started with from the first day itself because we knew that it was not fungus. So we continued with prep for an allergies. Then after 1 week, the patient came. We saw that cornea epithelium is very much dried up. So we decided to do immediate tarsorrhaphy, and this is the only way to do now, tarsorrhaphy. And we did tarsorrhaphy. Epithelium is excellent of tarsorrhaphy. I didn't have the photograph, but Desmond started preventing good vision. I did doubt. I thought the preservation of the endothelium will give us better scope, but that backfired. There was scar was there, so we decided to do PK instead of the curve. Then we did PK, and after 1 month, the patient came with redness, watering since 3 weeks. So that is the reason, horrible. The whole big infected is there, and everything is too bad. Immediately we thought it will need TPK, so we did TPK, then we continued with these medications. Then after that, actually COVID started, and the patient was lost to follow up, and it is 2 years now, and I don't know what has happened to the patient. Whether she is doing well or maybe. So this is the case I am presenting. I am very sorry. I kept laughing at myself because I been reaching miracle speaking to that retinal cyst. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Any comments from the panel? Sir.
Only one point I want to add, that whenever you give fortified antibiotic, cefazolin or anything, to control the infection, even not microbiology, even clinically, the moment you see the infection is controlled, the fortified antibiotic is toxic to epithelium. So as soon as possible it should be withdrawn, because fortified antibiotic is not for prolonging. It is only for emergency control of infection. Thank you.
We already overshot a little bit, but to that I can still say that we started late. So we finished within our 1 hour. Thank you very much for this. So then we'll conclude this session here. But there's some mementos. I'm not sure what are to be distributed.
So I'm reading some peras from Okaka and Pokamitoi. So I hope we'll all take their peras and Pokamitoi from Okaka.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank all the speakers for the excellent deliberations and staying within time. I'd like to once again thank our panelists. Again, mementos from Jumur, Subrana to Adikul Sensor. Next we have Jyoti Bhuya ma'am.
Camera ki ko aise tal mobile le gele. Still camera mai na.
Dr. Tasvirego.
Still camera. Still na. Still jo karo.
Beautiful for us, sir. HK Chaudhary, sir. Next, we have the keynote address by Dr. Sharik Chandi sir. So, this session concludes here.
Before sir starts his keynote address, would like to felicitate Dr. OSA Midterm sir.
ষ্টিলৰ কাপত থাকিব দিয়ক
Sir,
আহিছে
so brother,
ঐ কেন্দ্ৰীপ খান্দা এই ক'লৈ গ'ল বাৰু কি মানুহ বাৰু
Good evening to all.
ক'ত গ'ল এতিয়া লাগিব চবকে সম্বোধন জনাব নহয়
I'm thankful to the organizers for giving me that platform.
দিয়ক পটককৈ তাত
I understand this subject will not be very much interesting for many of you. This research has been approved by the Institutional Review Board.
ভিডিঅ' কেমেৰা লওঁ ভিডিঅ' কেমেৰা থাকিবলৈ তই ফটো মাৰ খালি ফটো চবতে ফটো উঠে
There is no
চাৰকো ফটো
commercial
উঠে
interest,
মোৰ সৈতে এতিয়া ইমিডিয়েট
as well as there is no conflict of interest. Now, as the resolution of this screen is a bit less, so many of the documents I think I will not be able to demonstrate. Now, often we come across the intraocular lens get dissolved with the capsular bed without any obvious reason. Many times we see that the intraocular lens develop opacity.
প্ৰেজেণ্টেশ্যন নিদিয়াকেতো পিপি
Now, most of you will
তাততো চাব নোৱাৰিব
tell that I
চাৰে
cannot
বাদ দিয়ক
encounter
সেইবিলাক বাদ দিয়ক
this
এতিয়া এইটো ইয়াৰ ভিতৰৰ ছেশ্যনটো
but I am sure
আমাৰ তাত গোটেইকেইটা এতিয়া
after seeing the
চব লগাই
documentation,
চাৰ্জাৰ এই বৰ্ডকেইটা
when
দুটা
you
বেয়া
go back and see
কি ক'লৈ
the
গ'ল জ্ঞানদীপ ক'লৈ গ'ল
lenses, the
মানুহ এতিয়া
post-operative
চেঞ্জ
period,
নহ'ব
many
বেয়া
years after,
মোকে গালি পাৰিব
you will see
নাই চেঞ্জ
all these findings. I have the evidences. You see the right hand side below picture, you can see the lens has become so hazy. And you can see the laser marks over it.
ফেনখনৰ পৰা ঘূৰাই দিয়কচোন
ঠাণ্ডা
The surgeon thought there is a posterior capsular opacity and laser was heated, causing fracture in the lenses. So after that, when the patient developed some extra glare, the
জ্ঞানদীপক
patient
মাতি
will come for a second consultation.
তই মানুহটো
These
কি
sort
নকৰিবি
of
চব মানুহ
cases
নাইকিয়া হৈছে মানুহ দেখিছেনে
are
কেনেকুৱা চিটুৱেশ্যন
contributed
মই এই কেমেৰাও চলাইছোঁ
to the
এই
late
মিনিট এতিয়া নিশিলিবি আৰু কোনো হিলিব নালাগে এতিয়াতো নাই
posterior syndrome, which develops
তই ইয়াত এই দুটা
many years after intraocular lens implantation. So, if you look the lenses, utilizing all the prescribed norms or prescribed protocol for evaluating the IOL, many of the findings are revealed.
খানা মোলৈ কিবা এটা খাবলৈ লাগিছিল ইয়াতে
And you will appreciate that the way
হোটেলত ইয়াত
that we look at the case before surgery
ডিফেক্ট হৈ আছে
in a detailed manner to plan the surgery.
এতিয়া প্লাবন আহিছে
In post-operative case,
ইয়াৰ পৰাই
we
মোক
see
চাৰে ক'লৈ আহিবলৈ
hardly within 1 minute time if there is no complication.
হ'ব হ'ব এই
So, we miss
পিছত কৰি আছোঁ হা
the finding.
ক'ৰ পৰা
Now, globally the rate of intraocular lens exchange is rising. And if you look into the common causes, one is dislocation, one is the precipitation, the presbyotic intraocular lens with the new intraocular lenses which are coming up, and this factor has been identified as a prior ocular surgery. Now, what is the purpose of this study?
মোবাইল লাইভ কৰি দিলোঁ
No report could be found in the literature where
ফেচবুকতো দি দিম
cause and effect relationship between the material status of the intraocular lens polymer gland and intraocular lens transparency as well as capsule bed ion complex dislocation in late postoperative period has been found. Now, we in our group have studied Cochrane literature, Cope library and Medline search, but we could not find any article. But we read all the articles and we have the hard copy of the articles also in our repository. Now, this is the basis of the brilliant study where we investigated ultrastructure and functional status of the polymer blend of opaque
লিংকটোহে দিলি ইয়াত
or dislocated hydrophilic lens and interpreted all these findings
কি লিংক দিছে
in reference to depth detected from the control laser used intraocular lens. Now, what is our material?
পাইছে
The capsule bed from spontaneously dislocated specimen of the capsule bed ion
ছাৰক কবি
complex
ইউটিউব লিংকটো শ্বেয়াৰ কৰি দিব দিছে
and the explanted ions with different grades of
ছাৰ
visibility
এটা দিব দিব
or opacities. Clinically clear explanted ions for ultraviolet visible spectroscopy and intraocular lens made of a specific polymer lens
ইউটিউব
and
লিংক ক্ৰিয়েট কৰি
expected
দিব
many years after implantation. So this is the polymer blend we studied. This is the formula and this is the protein pattern
হোৱাটছআপত দিছে নেকি ন
of
এতিয়া
fluoride.
হোৱাটছআপত দি দিছে হোৱাটছআপত
Now, what are the method? Depending on the study subjects objectives, optical microscopy, scanning electron microscopy, transmission electron microscopy, field emission scanning electron microscopy, Raman spectroscopy, immunocytochemistry, ultraviolet visible spectroscopy were used in different combinations and investigative tools according to the objective of the particular study. Now, the exclusion criteria were there. Retrieve samples from any patient without past medical record and detail of intraocular lens. The second exclusion criteria was there. Intraocular lens made of other than the specific polymer blend. I have shown you the formula of the blend. And the intraocular lenses are not intact in such case it is damaged during the specimen retrieval or preparation mainly to eliminate confounding factors. That is the reason the IIT people they manage a very strict protocol. So our injection samples are many and infusion samples are not that high. But the scanning electron microscopy and transmission electron microscopy or femtosecond field emission scanning electron microscopy or energy dispersive spectroscopy, why we have used? We have used them to study the material of the polymer blend at the individual atomic level. Because you have to compare the atomic level of the specimen of same brand which was never used. Now, this allows observation of dynamic surface erosional, intrinsic pattern and structure, and Raman spectroscopy is used in optical technique that determines molecular composition of polymer. I think you know the paper by which the C.P. Raman got the Nobel Prize. His paper was only 51 lines. So it is so specific investigation that each and every detail at the atomic level, even chemical analysis can be done by this method and then specific in IIT Guwahati. Since 2013 onwards, our group has conducted 5 consecutive studies in collaboration with IIT Guwahati to to analyze material status of the explanted hydrophobic ions affected with microvacuoles or opacity or got dislocated to CV complex to explain cause and effect relationship between material condition and clinical features of these ions long time after implantation. The sixth and final study that was conducted to evaluate the status of the light transmission in clinically looking normal intraocular lens 10 years after or 10 years or more after implantation. Now regarding the microvacuoles, you will see many articles. These are mostly funded by the company. They are good. That the microvacuoles do not affect the vision. But that is actually not scientifically correct because the line resolution of any intraocular lens which is not transparent is reduces. Now why the patient cannot understand it? Because the process is slow and the neuroadaptation occurs and the patient adjusts to it. As you see many cases, they come to even 660 vision with cataract and they claim that I can see everything. I think all of us have the similar experience. Now what was the first study? It was conducted to know the cause of opacification of the intraocular lens. Mind that it is hydrophobic intraocular lens. Literature is available on hydrophilic lenses and this is the first report that opacification of a hydrophobic ion. Now we use the light microscopy, diffractive photography, elixir scanning electron microscopy and energy dispersive X-ray spectroscopy. So what are the findings? The first picture you can see with a light microscopic photograph showing the non-homogeneous granular opacities. Now when the granules are stained, it shows positive for calcium with residential 1% staining. Now the first picture I can set up the diffractive photography. We use Exotem MRC manufactured by dyes of single granule of calcium deposit in high magnification with microstructure. I will come for the microstructure. Now the surface is a scanning electron microscopy as 850x shows millet shape like calcium deposit over diffusely eroded intraocular lens surface. You can see the arrow is there. On that arrow the white things are there. These are the calcium deposit. And with 2.16 K magnification, you can see on the surface there is some nanoparticle deposit over the millet sheets. Now, when the energy dispersive X-ray spectroscopy was done, it detected calcium responsible for primary intraocular primary opacification. You can see the first pipe, the top pipe to the highest peak is due to calcium. Now the conclusion of the study was that the intraocular lens developed opacity due to calcium deposition. It is the first time reporting of primary opacification of hydrophobic foldable intraocular lens related to surface erosion of the optics. This paper we have already published. The second study aimed to investigate surface and inside structure and material composition of elements responsible for intraocular lens opacification. In that investigation, we used scanning electron microscopy, energy dispersive spectroscopy, and fixed emission scanning electron microscopy. The first picture you can see the ion is opaque, and there also the clinician tried to do a capsulotomy, but it was the lens defect. The second picture also you can see it was tried to do a capsulotomy, but it was a membrane. It was a membrane formed over the intraocular lens. If it was not a membrane, there is a surface change to the intraocular lens. Now what we got? Three samples we have studied. Sample 1 optically affected only uncovered part of the intraocular lens. There is a significant finding because away from that, the intraocular lens is in touch with the capsule, so very easy aqueous is not moving over it. And after explantation, this picture you can see the digital part is clear. In the scanning electron microscopy, 200 and 500 x magnification, you can see the surface erosion and the cracks. Below right is a control specimen. You can see so homogeneous surface is. In sample 2 what we got, it is hazy lens. The lens is cloudy. And that will examine with a condensed xenon light because the xenon light mimics the laser light. The bottom two samples you can see homogeneous leaking. This is a specific terminology described in reference to the degradation of the polymer. And you see the uneven surface. These things are clinically manifested as cloudy things because with so much magnification you can see the structure of hydrolytic degradation of polymer causing delayed
postoperative hydrophobic IOL opacity, and hydrolysis is due to enzymatic catalyst leads surface erosion. All these enzymes are present in the aqueous humor. So this change will not develop immediate after implantation, it will develop many years after implantation. The end of the deliberation I saw how many years after all these specimens were examined. The sample 3, this lens is also clouded. Now, the scanning electron microscopy, you can see the right two pictures, a conglomerated structure and pores in the polymer. Now, when this lens expanded, bottom left picture, this opacity in incandescent light close to natural light at 45-degree incident beam. So normally when you see this sort of lens, if you directly focus, the diffuse illumination would not be able to appreciate it. Now this surface when he is examined with 80,000 magnification, you can see that the nanoparticles, red arrows. Now what are these nanoparticles? The energy dispersive spectroscopy shows that these nanoparticles are made of elements which are other than calcium and phosphate. So in the intraocular lens, there is a thermal stabilizer used. It is carboxylated, derived from zinc and cadmium. So why I am mentioning this point, you see the elements detected, the argument may be there, this is the thermal stabilizer, but you see these are not zinc cadmium because it is within, not on the surface. So it is an evidence that it is deposited from our body. It comes to the lens surface through the aqueous and deposited, and this deposition is there because of the biodegradation of the intraocular lens. So the surface cracking, erosion and deposit of non-calcium and phosphate elements were responsible for delayed opacification of the intraocular lens. The third study was conducted to investigate ultrastructure of the microvacuoles in polymer using scanning electron microscope. You can see the intraocular lens are having microvacuole formation. Now anterior surface you see it become uneven. The posterior surface is having a different pattern, and this pattern is seen when the fluid flows on a hard structure interface with some loose structure. So posterior capsule where the flow is less, so this is the pattern, and the anterior surface where the flow is more, this is the pattern. Now what is the inside? The cut section shows that pores are visible. The upper two pictures, you can see the poles are there. And the company claims that the capsule remains adhered to the intraocular lens, but here you can see the specimen shows a space in between there. So the tackiness, which is a notional idea, this property also intraocular lens loses in course of time. The below other corner picture, you are seeing the horizontal line because of the resolution of the screen, it is completely homogeneous. So unused IOL and the used IOL a long time showing some differences. The fourth study one was on pathology and immunocytology of capsular bag in late spontaneously dislocated capsule bag IOL complex in healthy eyes without any trauma to evaluate any cause-effect relationship for dialysis. These are some explanted specimen because this specimen got dislocated automatically. There you can see the small bag. The medium size of the bag is 8.33 millimeter. The capsular phimosis there, and the median size of the capsular phimosis is 3.76 millimeter. Capsular bag, we know that more than 12 millimeter, so it contracts so much that it causes jugular dilatation progressively and responsible for dislocation. This is another sample of that series. You see the fibrosis of the capsule. The entire capsule has been dissected, the second picture, and the entire, it is a structure adhered to the posterior surface of the anterior capsule. It can be detected, it can be dissected out, and this is the scanning electron microscopic picture, the third one. Now, in our laboratory, we have investigated for Vimentin, we have investigated for the pseudo-exfoliative material, because the literature say in the Scandinavian country, the pseudo-exfoliation, the commonest cause of spontaneous dislocation, but we could not find in our specimen pseudo-exfoliation, but rather we find expression of Vimentin. Vimentin means the metaplastic change of the lens epithelial cell, metaplastic change of the fibrous elements, and which is a contractile element responsible for progressive contraction of the capsule and dislocation of the intraocular lens. Now, these compressions are so much that you can see on the intraocular lens, the right hand side upper picture, it can makes an impression, and below you see the compression fold that develops on the haptics, of the IOL. So this abnormal response in the capsular bag is induced by degraded intraocular lens after a long time of its implantation. The fifth study was Raman spectroscopy of intraocular lens with grade 6 glistening to determine the change in the chemical structure of the intraocular lens material to explain possible mechanism responsible for this biodegradation and clinical glistening. These are specimen when it was in situ and when it was explanted. The left hand side picture, it is in situ, and right hand side is the. Now you can see this is the Raman spectroscopic finding. All these 6 explanted IOLs we have brought into a composite picture, otherwise the publisher do not give 6 spaces for the 6, total 7 specimen, one is the unused specimen. Now this, it's in the x-axis you see the Raman shift, and the y-axis is the Raman intensity, is basically a wave number. This wave number indicate the concentration of the particular material on that bandwidth. Now what we have found, I will not analyze all the points, but what I have found that you see that a high spike is there, and that high spike indicates the conversion of the monomer. The Raman spectroscopy is so specific that it can detect what is the chemical responsible for this spike. So that is showing a monomer conversion. The monomer conversion occurs due to unzipping reaction of polymer. Now, I think all of you know that the polymer that are used for manufacturing intraocular lens, there are two types of polymerization there, and this polymerization process is a patented for each manufacturer. And the two broad types are bulk polymerization, and second one is the mold polymerization. Now the particular blend of IOL which I am describing, these are manufactured by mold method of polymerization, where the literature say that this is the condition when, or this is the process by which the incomplete polymerization, risk of incomplete polymerization is high, and the unzipping reaction of the polymer is also high in this type of blend. So after knowing all these things, I do not use that blend because the literature say that this sort of blend is not compatible for the mankind for a prolonged period of time. So you can imagine the polymer are made of chains. This number of monomers combine together to make polymer, and when the unzipping occurs, so many things can happen, and our people are living longer and longer following intraocular lens implantations. 30 years, 40 years after, if a child survives, or 50 years, what complication can arise? And globally, the intraocular lens explantation rate is increasing. The rate is increasing, and that is the fact. Now, what happens actually? The microvacuoles are a pocket of low polymer density, and that is forms either inherent to process of polymerization or because of the chain session. Now, this space contains water, and the surrounding area, which we have proven that the surrounding area is relatively hydrophobic group, alkyl group. It prevents escape of the water from that, and it remains visible clinically. It is visible clinically, and these are the microvacuoles. So this hydrophobic functional group, which is still not depolymerized, prevent escape of fluid from this pocket, and we see as the microvacuoles. Now, findings provided evidence of in vitro progressive degradation of hydrophobic IOL polymer by the process of hydrolysis. I think the electron microscopy pictures what I have shown, this is the evidence that hydrolysis occurs, and the ring variation of alkyl group, which is proven by the Raman spectroscopy, is an evidence of monomer conversion. Hydrophobic polymer contains a infrared light sensitive functional group, and that is the formula of that group, and this group is accounting for degradation after long term exposure because it is sensitive to ultraviolet light. And we are exposed to ultraviolet light in many of the situations. Even the normal radiation from the LED and other light, sometimes after long use, the ultraviolet component comes out. The sixth study that we have conducted, this study is under peer review. It will be published soon probably. The final query has come to us, we have replied. The sixth study was on UV visible spectroscopy of explanted intraocular lens, which were in vivo more than 10 years to know the pattern of light transmission. Now you can see the green one is a new you see the light transmission pattern. All the intraocular lenses, you see, they absorb UV light, but the light transmission declines. And if you compare with the standard chart, you will see that line transmission pattern. There are some researches on light transmission pattern of crystalline lens in a person of 70 years, this matches it. So can you imagine a person after intraocular lens implantation, if it degrades and transmission goes to a person of 70 years old, how much quality of vision to the person will be reduced. The reviewer wanted to know from us what is the clinical importance of your research. So we have written that after use years, if the vision transmission declines 70%, by this time the retinal receptor also degrade. Can you imagine what is the visual degradation occurs quality-wise? Now these are our studies we have done, and conclusion of these studies I have already mentioned. And what was new and what new findings we have got? That we have proven that mesenchymal transmission of the ASL of the capsule are contraction due to the ASL and responsible for capsular contraction, and that is because of the polymer degradation. We have proven the structural change is due to hydrolytic degeneration, and we have shown that surface erosion, nanoparticle constituted by calcium and other elements which deposits on the surface and cause IOL changes. To discuss the matter, hydrophobic IOL is a heterogeneous thermoplastic cross-linked acrylic copolymer manufactured by random polymerization process, and its backbone is a carbon-carbon double bond to the monomers. In this type of blend, monomers are never connected uniformly, so always there is a pocket of low density polymer. Phenyl ring makes it hydrophobic. These intraocular lens investigated are made of copolymer of phenyl ethyl acrylate, phenyl ethyl methacrylate, 1,4-butane adenol diacrylate, and some cross-linkers. So the different chemical stabilizer that we are used, as per the literature, these are the chemicals used. The different purposes, light for UV protection, or screening of the light, and the susceptible polymer structure for degradation are the aromatic epoxide, chain containing aromatic materials, and functionality of the benzophenols for its particular property. And manufacturers do not disclose this. We have inquired, this falls under their privacy right. So the FDA registration they make, they are not liable to disclose the company privacy. This is a particular policy is there, so they do not disclose it. Low density pockets is an inherent nature, particularly of mold polymer, but the spike which detected monomer in Raman spectroscopy is significant. It specifically suggested either presence of residual monomer or conversion of polymer into monomer due to randomization of main polymer chain in the blends tested. The finding of the present studies together are the evidences in vivo hydrophobic IOL polymer degradation, mainly by the process of hydrolysis. Degradation results to structural changes leading to development of microvacuoles, surface deposition, opacification, and also excite unwanted response in the capsular bag and spontaneous late dislocation of CBIOL due to excessive contraction of the capsular bag. Even clinically normal looking intraocular lens demonstrated significant transmission loss in ultra UV spectroscopy along with time. So degradation is a long drawn process responsible for ultimate breakage of polymer molecule. It is influenced by several external and internal factors which together lead to chemical, structural and functional change of the polymer blend. So why these changes are not evident to all? It is because of environment, biochemical individuality, and genetic makeup, which differs from person to person only by 0.1%. So you see the arrow, this is the space where host factor, material factors and function comes into balance and maintains functioning for a period of time. So shortcoming of this study is that we could not use arithmetic advantage of absolute values, which is called RA factors, and three-dimensional analysis was not used to study surface structure. This facility is not there in IIT Guwahati. We could not investigate the modular transfer function, and if a multi-center study is done with same protocol, then I think it will give more light on these changes. So we are this group of people who have worked for this long period of time, and we acknowledge the Kanchi Shankara Health and Education Foundation and Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, for helping us to conduct this study. Thank you all. So I am thankful to all of you for listening this study. The subject is not very much of interest, but I think we have to focus on the fundamentals if we want to give a good vision to the patient who we operate for a long period of time. And the manufacturers should aware us with more information about their material they are using, and there should not be because every innovation has shortcoming, but if we work on it, we can definitely improve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vata sir, for giving us the opportunity to hear such an in-depth investigation done by you. So, welcoming our guest speaker, Dr. Somnath Chakraborty. So he has arrived from Dibrugarh on road, clearing such lots of potholes and all. So he is in the field of retina. First, I would like to give a very short introduction of him. Dr. Somnath Chakraborty is having over 15 years experience of vitreoretina service. Please come. Please come, sir. So he did his MBBS and MS from Banaras Hindu University. After that, he went for Urban Eye Hospital, Madurai for his fellowship. And after that, he did he served there also for 2 years, 5, 6, 7, 3 years. 3 years he served there. Then he came back to Siliguri, now heading the retina department of Greater Alliance for about 7 years. And since February 2016, he is also associated exclusively with Retina Institute of Bengal, Siliguri. So Dr. Chakraborty is having multiple international and national publications, more than 10, including 3 recent publications. And he does life surgeries and national and international conferences. He won the Satya Hazara Award in the OSWB in 2021. He's interested in surgical retina in community ophthalmology. We welcome you, Dr. Somnath, here in Ophthalmology Society of Assam. We'd like to felicitate you with a gamosa, a sileng sadar, and the one-horn rhino, the unique of Fisher of Assam. Give me your laptop. And a Zapi. Thank you, sir. Nilaksi. Dr. Somnath will be having his deliberation now.
Good evening, seniors, friends. At the outset, I sincerely thank Ophthalmic Society of Assam for giving me this honor. I'm really very happy to be amongst you all today. Over the next few minutes, I'll be discussing with you my thoughts on what we have learned over the years from the various DME trials about how we should manage diabetic macular edema and how, in the real world, our day-to-day management of DME differs from the trials. So, just give me 1 second. So, as we all know that diabetic retinopathy is of course increasing, and we recently unfortunately became the diabetic capital of the world, and diabetic macular edema remains the most common cause of loss of vision in diabetic retinopathy. So after 20 years, almost 1 out of every 3 diabetic patients will have DME, and without treatment, over 3 years, nearly half of these patients will lose the ability to read and write. Now before 2000, after ETDRS, laser was the only treatment option. Then in early 2000s, 2 things happened. One was OCT was introduced, and the other was pharmacotherapy, that is intravitreal injections, were introduced in management of diabetic macular edema. Now once these new treatment, new diagnostic modalities came, it was realized that it is important that we find newer ways to, or we develop new protocol of managing diabetic macular edema. This was the reason why in 2002, Diabetic Retinopathy Clinical Research Network, or as we call it DRCR.net, was formed. Now the various trials which have been conducted over the years by DRCR.net are very important because this is not a company sponsored network. So this is actually sort of which has not only studied DME. Initially their primary focus area of research was DME and then PDR. Now they are also going into juxtafoveal telangiectasia and various other retinal diseases. But the bulk of the work they have published so far have been on. So if we take a gist of all those trials, what do the trials say about managing DME? So the first thing is that unlike our clinical classification which was given by ETDRS of DME, now we have what we call an OCT classification. So once